Hi everyone and greetings from Australia. Welcome back to our channel at Prime Migration. My name is Ruth and I am an Australian legal practitioner here in Australia and I deal with immigration law matters. Well, in this video, I would like to share with you 7 things you must do for a parent visa, and that's if you're looking at the permanent visa or the staggering option towards permanent residency in Australia as a parent. Now, please do not treat the contents of this video as legal or migration advice because we assess each case on a case-by-case basis, but I trust that the contents of this video will give you a brief overview and vital information concerning your case. So, what are the 7 things you must do for a parent visa? Let's get started. The first one is you need to establish evidence of parental lineage. What do I mean by that? Well, for a parent visa, basically you have to have a sponsor and that person is your child. And for that reason, you need to be able to establish that your child is your child legally, whether it's through birth certificate, family book, etc. So immigration will take into account your identity very, very, very seriously. So that's the first thing. You need to ensure that your paperwork, they're in order when it comes to establishing the fact that you are the parent of your child and that your child and that you either gave birth to your child or you adopted your child, or it could also be a stepchild. Number 2, you need to ensure that you have evidence of permanent residency or citizenship. So essentially that is for your child because you are essentially applying for permanent residency and eventually citizenship. So the child who is sponsoring you must either be a permanent resident or a citizen in Australia. Now, in some cases, certain types of visas will require your child to be a settled resident in Australia. And what that means is they generally need to show that they've been living in Australia for a minimum of 2 years. But it really depends on the type of visa, okay? The third one is choosing the right visa. Now, for permanent visas, all parents must meet the 50% balance of family test. What that means is at least half of your children must either be a permanent resident or an Australian citizen. For example, if you have got 2 children, one of your child will have to be a permanent resident or an Australian citizen. If you have 5 children, then 3 of your children will have to be a permanent resident or an Australian citizen. And this will include your child, whether they live overseas or your stepchildren. So immigration includes all of your children, and there's a particular definition as to what child means. If you are concerned about whether you meet the criteria, you can always contact an agent or an immigration lawyer, or you can write us an email and we will be able to advise you. And in terms of choosing the right visa, there are onshore visas, offshore visas, age parent visas, contributory parent visas. So you need to know which visas you can apply from Australia, which ones you cannot apply from Australia. And if you do apply from Australia, certain visas do not actually grant you bridging visa to stay in Australia or bridging visa A. So you need to really consider the waiting time as well. So choosing the right visa is really, really important. I cannot emphasize that enough because there are people, clients who've gone and spent a lot of money and they've applied for the visa and then they keep waiting and waiting and waiting and then visa never came for them. So it's really important that you know which type of visa you want to go for and also you need to check the waiting time. Okay. The fourth thing you must do for a parent visa is you must meet the health requirement. So in terms of parent visa, you will be requested to undergo health examination, and immigration will actually go through a couple of tests. They will also ask you for your medical history. So this is essentially performed by an approved panel clinic, whether it's in Australia or in your home country or in a nearby country where there's an approved panel doctor. So essentially, you will have to meet the health requirement, and this is an interesting topic because if parents do not meet the health requirement, then the visa will be refused. And what that can also mean is that you can essentially take it to appeal, but the issue is generally there's no health waiver requirement. And immigration usually looks at a couple of scenarios. For example, if they feel that your previous health condition is going to recur, and if so, is it going to cost the Australian community a significant cost? Is it going to prejudice upon the Australian community using health services? So the government is very particular about the health requirement. So if you were to look at applying for parent visa, just make sure that you look after your health. But also in some cases, there are other types of visas where there's a health waiver. Health waiver means that immigration can choose to waive the health requirement based on certain circumstances. But for parent visas, in most situations, there is no health waiver, which makes it a bit of a struggle for certain applicants who've got health issues. Okay, so that's the fourth thing you must do. You must attend health examination. The fifth criteria is you must meet the character requirement. Now, this is huge. So this is also considered as the public interest criteria. So you need to be able to show immigration that you are a person of good character. And immigration will request you to provide police clearances from the countries you've lived in, usually for at least about 12 months, or places that you've visited for over 12 months in the usually last 10 years, but they can ask for more if they want to, since turning 16. So character requirement, really important. It doesn't mean that, if you've done something silly when you were in your younger days that you cannot get the visa. So there are a couple of different spectrums. I would say that immigration will classify particular offenses, but if you have doubts about meeting the character requirement, just contact us and we would be happy to assist. The sixth thing you must do for a parent visa is before you submit your visa, your child will need to lodge a sponsorship application. So essentially your child is saying that they're willing and able to sponsor you as, on a parent visa. And they must be approved of their sponsorship before you can be granted your visa. So ensure that the paperwork is done properly. If possible, use an immigration agent or an immigration lawyer. Just make sure that all the paperwork is done properly. And finally, the seventh thing you must do is, once the sponsorship is approved, you will then need to lodge your visa application for the parent visa. Ensure that you use the right form, pay the right fees. And at some point, if it is a contributory parent visa, immigration will also request a contribution from you, and you will be required to pay it at specific times. So ensure that you pay at a timely manner for the visa to be granted. In some cases, immigration may also request that you pay an assurance of support, and that could either be from a family member or an organization. And this amount is usually calculated by the government, and the amount can change over time. So those are the 7 things you must do in order to pursue a parent visa. The types of visas and how it works can be a little bit confusing and complicated at times. So if you need our help, just drop us an email on the email address below. And otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video, and we wish you the very best in your future endeavors.